Good morning and welcome. Welcome to Fight CPS with your host, Bob Pace, and also to Hang On to Your Children. It's a really bad issue for you to deal with CPS. And I feel for you, I care for you. I am not an attorney, I'm a loving father and a husband who has also been through a nightmare with a rogue CPS entity. Now, not all CPS are bad, but a lot of them are. And one thing you and I have in common that we've encountered the rogue entity. Now, this is a live stream produced twice a day by the law office of Vincent W. Davis. Mr. Davis sets this up. He is a brilliant attorney fighting in the CPS arena. He does this on a daily basis. He helps as many people as he can. So I want to thank him very much for producing this live stream. And his background has been 39 years fighting in CPS. He's a trial attorney also. His background is juvenile law, dependency law, and family law, which is the kind of a person you need to help navigate and fight CPS. Now, I'm on twice a day in the morning at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. That's the West Coast in California. And then I'm on in the evenings at 7 p.m. And that's for 1 hour on the West Coast of California, Pacific Standard Time. Now, I'm here to help answer questions. I want to make this live stream interactive, meaning that I look for you all to ask me questions about your CPS case or to make comments about your CPS case. All I ask is that you put in your first name and you put in the city or county and the state you're from. And if you're from another place outside the United States, one of the other countries, I have 21 of you. I warmly welcome you also. This is a live stream where anybody needs help with dealing with the entities, the CPS entities. Now, what I call CPS is the Child Protection Systems. Every county and every state has a CPS system. It may be different names, but to make it simplified, I just call it CPS. Now, in California and Orange County, it's called the Child Protection Services, CPS. That one's easy. But next door in LA County, it's Department of Children and Family Services. And then in Prescott, Arizona, it's the Child Protection Services. In Richmond, Kentucky, it's the Cabinet. So instead of sitting here to say 40 different names, I'm just going to say CPS. So when I'm talking about CPS, I'm talking about the entity that is mandated by Congress, directed to social services to protect our children from neglect and abuse. Neglect and abuse. Our children forever, and I go back to the 1600s, I read about cases in the 1600s, the 1700s, the 1800s, the 1900s, and now we're in the 2000s. There are numerous cases where children are abused by their parents, forced into labor, they're tortured, there are unthinkable things are done to our children. They're neglected and starved, and no clothing and so forth. So there is a necessity for the protection of these children. But what has happened is that in my experience, and I've been fighting for 15 years, they've gone rogue. And what I mean by that, they no longer follow the principles. They automatically take your child whether in danger or not. They're not supposed to. They took my children that weren't in danger. They're in school. They were not in danger. And on top of that, they trafficked the children into foster care so they could be adopted because In 1994, then President Clinton signed into law the incentive law, where the government gives the CPS, the child protection systems, additional money to have them be adopted instead of going through unification. Reunification should be the goal if they break up a family, but they don't seem to follow that. It's been studies have shown time after time that the best parents that raise children, that take care of children, are the biological parents. If one parent has a problem, they can fix it. It's not the end of the world. But our children are precious, and I care about them. I care about you and what you're going through. So let me hear those comments. Let me hear those questions. And also try to be complete with your case. Try to be complete with your case. Now, I mentioned that there are 14 live streams that I do, and I've been doing this now for 17 months, since October 2023. I've talked to over 1,000 people, either through texts or phone calls, from not only the United States, but around the world. I've talked to Indonesia, Bangladesh, India, Libya, Saudi Arabia, over to Africa. I've talked about Liberia, Sudan, Rwanda, Mozambique, and then 2 provinces in South Africa. Then up to Europe, I've talked to England, Scotland, and Wales. I've also talked to Denmark and Sweden. Then across the pond to North America, talked to 4 provinces in Canada, and then all 50 states. There have been people many times over representing each of the 50 states. Also the District of Columbia. Then south of border to Mexico, then down to South America to Grenada, then across the South Pacific to New Zealand, and then to the land down under, Australia. There's 2 states there. So I've had a wealth of people in here. And like people from South Africa have called in. I haven't heard from them in a while, but their country code's 27, and they actually talked for a good hour a couple times. Then a mom up in England was having a terrible time. Country code 44, she's called. I've had several people from Canada call, from Mexico. So it is a reality out there that there is a bad agency. And a lot of you aren't prepared like I am. I was not prepared. You're just like me. You have CPS show up and you don't know what to do, and you think by being honest with them and open with them and trust in this government entity. But this government entity, there's a lot of rogue out there. You can't decipher who's bad or good. So there's 5 rules that I developed that will help you. If I had those rules at the time my case started, I would never have lost one of my children. Yes, I have children. I have 6 of them, 3 older and 3 younger. And my 3 younger were trafficking into foster care by the CPS in Orange County, California. It was wrong what they did. It was totally wrong. And they were trying for 5 years to find out something wrong, because a layperson who happened to be my in-laws, my wife's mother, father, 3 sisters, and a brother in Ohio, were calling California and making up stories every week for 5 years that we're doing this to our children. It was a horrendous experience. And finally, they were able to take my children because the anonymous phone calls kept coming in. I did not know at the time it was them. I did not know at the time it was them. It's sad because that's what CPS relies on, is calls from lay people and professionals. There's 2 groups. The professionals are trained and educated and know how to recognize issues. And I would say probably 75% of the lay people are truthful. There's still some of the lay people that, for whatever motive, somehow distort things. But with lay people, I think at least 50% are not truthful. They use it for retaliation, and that is so bad. They don't like the neighbor's dog, so they make up stories and call on the neighbor. They don't like his yard growing in their yard, so they call it, make stories. Or it's a spouse looking for a divorce to get the kids. Or it's something else. You're not born with a book on how to fight CPS or how to do it. I had to learn the hard way, as all of you are. I had to suffer through emotional drama for 3 years on top of the 5 years. That's 8 years of hell with CPS. And I'm still fighting them now. They're still doing things wrong because a lot of you have developed like a family in here. There's 25 to 50 of you that check in every day, every show, my 2 shows a day, my 14 live podcasts. And I'm glad that you do that. I'm glad that you do that. Now, I'm glad that you have joined my live stream. I'm sorry about last night. That was unfortunate. I had no control that the internet started causing some problems. And I was determined to try to tell you guys goodbye last night. But I'm telling you now, thank you last night for showing up, all of you. And again, thank you today. I had to go with what my show producer had stated. Now, besides requesting a text question or a text comment, you can also be a guest on my show. To be a guest on my show, all you have to do is to email my show producer. Her name is Grace. She works hard behind the scenes, and she will get you onto the show as a guest. I had a guest yesterday. It's a nice guest to have. And I appreciate having that because it makes the live stream so much better. Because for me to talk for an hour, it's really tough. It's really hard to stay focused. Also, I think you all get tired of hearing the same old things. So I tried different ways of presenting material and facts and everything. So please be a guest on my live stream. You just pick one of my 14 shows, a morning show, an evening show. And by the way, I'm on at 8 o'clock on Saturdays and Sundays. That's the only difference. Sometimes there are other days that I may have to arrange my times, but I try to keep to my times there. So on Saturday and Sunday, it's 8 o'clock. So pick one of the times and one of the days. That's 7 days a week, 14 live streams. Email to Grace, and then she'll send you a link and help you get on. She'll send a link and help you get on. And she's really good about doing that. The link is good for the entire show. So if you get knocked off, get back on. Also, she'll tell you what to say and not to say, such as not the names of people and no smoking or eating on the live stream. And she'll tell you and help you adjust things and whatever you do. And then right after being a guest, and by the way, I can take up to 9 of you as guests. So all of you can be, I can take 9 of you. There's my phone number. I'm now live, and you can call me at 626-698-0990. I use a internet phone application called Vonage. You don't have to have it, but that's what I use. It's a live stream on my phone. I use the internet for taking phone calls and for calling and so forth. And so you can call me during my show time. Do not call me before or after my show time because I can't answer the phone. So my number is 626-698-0990. Now, when you call in, I'll put you on speakerphone. And if you're a guest, you'll be seen visually and audibly. And by the way, by you being a guest on my live stream or calling in on my live stream, you will qualify for a free 15-minute live Zoom meeting, private consultation with Mr. Davis. He's my attorney. He's one of the best in the country for fighting CPS. He'll fight in every state. He basically, when you talk to him, he'll tell you about his retainer and what additional funds it is for him to travel. There's per diem. He'll need transportation to get there and transportation on the ground, and he'll need a accommodation and food while he's there. So those are additional expenses to his normal retainer. His retainer depends on the complexity of the case and how long the case has been going on. I wish I'd got a hold of Vincent Davis at the very beginning. I did not know about his existence. I did not know about the internet to research about CPS. I did not know how strong and powerful CPS is, how corrupt they are. And I know it's really hard for a lot of you to grasp that. But if you're going through yourself, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. And I want to thank for the emoji from Donna Landry. Thank you so much for the thumbs up. All of you can express yourself by emojis in this podcast on YouTube. I'm using StreamYard application, and that's what you'll get when you get the link from my show producer there. Now, there's another number on the screen, 888-888-6582. That's the law offices of Vincent W. Davis. There you can talk to him if you want to hire him directly, talk about his retainer. Just make sure when you call the office, you tell him that Bob Pace sent you. And when you talk to Mr. Davis, you tell him that Bob Pace sent you. It's really important. And also, there are guides that you have. We have a brand new guide out called for grandparents, how the steps of how to see your grandchildren and get guardianship of your grandchildren. It's made for California, but I work almost in any other state. It's a really excellent book. It's $9.99. And if you use my discount code of PACE, PACE 50, it's half off. There are other guides in there, the steps of how to fight CPS. There's excellent resources. And you can get that just by contacting 888-888-6582. Also, if you need another attorney for another matter, like you need an attorney for a divorce or a criminal matter, or maybe it's real estate, or maybe it's immigration or medical, whatever the reason being, he has lots of attorneys who can help you. Now, we have someone that just texted in, Kay Diamond Rock. Welcome. And she says that she's in Maryland. Welcome all the way from Maryland. I have not heard from a Maryland in a while, not from Carol, the social worker that called from Maryland. Now, Kay Diamond Rock just said the school okay, I think what she's trying to say is that the school contacted the CPS because you decided to do homeschooling. Now, there's nothing wrong with doing homeschooling, but it's very important that you set up your parameters right. Homeschooling is another form of education for your children. We have the right if we want to do so, but you have to make a contract with the school district. Outline your steps and plans. It has to be formally approved and accepted by the school district to do homeschooling. You just can't think, oh, I want to do homeschooling. No, you have to get permission and you have to set up an academic plan and something that is go through the school board. So I don't know about the details, and I don't know why CPS would be involved with because you want to have your child homeschool. That's not their business. Kay Diamond from Maryland further says, my kids didn't want to be there because of the bullying and the mistreatment of teachers. There's nothing wrong with that. It's your right. It's one of your constitutional rights. A lot of you don't realize, I didn't realize, there are constitutional rights and civil rights. You need to look them up. I have rule number 4 that talks about how to use the internet. The internet is a powerful tool, but it's very important you phrase your questions right. You start off by listening to city. and the state. And then you put the letters CPS. A lot of things will pop up, but if you want to refine it, you put in a specific question like, what is the 388 motion? What is the ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978? Or what is a 160 hearing? There's lots of things. So you really want to find out everything you can about what you're trying to do and so forth. Now, if you happen to live in a small city, make sure you pick a big one. Like if you live in Athens, Georgia, you may want to put Athens, Atlanta, Georgia. That would help. Also, if you're from another country, you want to put your country in when you look up things with CPS. So you legally signed them out, and so you did get permission. Okay. Well, I don't know. Signing out is one thing. Did you make a plan with homeschooling? Did you make an academic plan and a contract with the school district and outline what you plan to teach your kids? Now, I don't know what part of Maryland that you're talking about. I have had 3 or 4 people from Maryland that have had trouble with CPS. I also have a social worker named Carol that talked for 40 minutes about her CPS entity, her child protection system there. And she said that she didn't do what a lot of them do that. Of course, I don't know. I have to take her word for it, but she was really concerned about what I was telling about how bad CPS is, even in her state. She's a clinical psychiatrist. She got educated, and she had supposedly 6 months of training in the Maryland. But she didn't tell me what city, so I don't know, and it's hard. I don't know if you're from Rockville, Maryland, or from Fredericksburg, Maryland, or from Westminster, Maryland, or Baltimore, Maryland. I know a lot about the different states and cities because I've talked to various people. Now, you said the cops showed up the day before the CPS worker. I let neither into my home. I feel violated. The cops are intimidated factors. The cops don't know half the time what they're doing with CPS. They're not trained in CPS, and they certainly are not doing what's called to protect and proudly serve the public. Not all cops are nice. Not all cops are fair. There are rogue cops out there. There are good cops and bad cops, and you may encounter some bad cops. But cops are only called for criminal matters. Having your kids do homeschool is not a criminal matter. That's a matter for the school board. That's a matter for the school board to explode. It has nothing to do with CPS, nothing to do with police, but they're going to try to. They're going to try to make it their thing there. And so you're smart about not letting them in your home, and you don't need to talk to them. Tell them, I have an attorney, and my attorney needs to be present when I deal with this matter. And that will usually shut them up. Now, you said you legally signed them out, so I did get permission. Well, you signed them out, but you still haven't answered my question about a academic plan, a contract with the district, the school district. And I'm sorry you feel violated. I feel violated the way they treated me and my wife. Hartford, Maryland. Okay, there's one place I don't know too much about Hartford, Maryland. I know they have a lot of insurance there in Hartford, Maryland, but I don't know if that's north or south of Baltimore or near Washington, D.C. or what. The school's mad because they lost the students and funds that come along with being a public school. You're right. Every student is a number. And the way it works, and it may be a lot changed now because we have a new president that is shaking up everything. But how it works is every day a student is in class, they get compensated for that. If the school is absent, they do not get compensated. The school districts rely on federal funds. They get federal funds from property taxes too. So the property tax you pay goes to the state in turn supposedly funds the school district with the property tax. Now, as far as federal funds, I really don't know how that works specifically, but I know that property tax does help out with school funds. But every place is different. And I know why they're mad and they want to retaliate. But, you're not endangering your kids by doing homeschooling. So I don't know what you're violating with you're not doing neglect or abuse homeschooling your kids. But it's very important that you have that academic plan that's agreed upon the district of how you're going to school your kids. And you need to answer me that question. Did you have an academic plan in place? And the other thing, too, is that I'm afraid you're going to have to get an attorney when you deal with the police or you deal with CPS, the Child Protection System, because it is bad. Fighting CPS is like doing open heart surgery yourself. Can you imagine taking a knife and cutting your chest up and pull out your pumping heart and try to repair it? That will not work. You need to have a professional doctor. That's why I say you need to find an attorney. And you certainly don't want to use a court-appointed attorney. CPS loves for families to use court-appointed attorneys because they can manipulate them, they hire them, they work for CPS, and they're not even trained in juvenile law, family law, or dependency law. They're already trained in criminal law, and they're very new at what doing, and they're so loaded down with cases they don't have time. There's only been one incident I've heard out of 1,000 that a person was able to use a court-appointed attorney to get their kids back and to fight a bad CPS system. Now, you say you make your own curriculum for my kids. You have to show a portfolio twice a year. Okay. Did you do that? Did you get an academic approval from the school district of your educational portfolio? All right. That is the most common thing that all of us have. We don't have funds for an attorney. And I know where you're coming from. Now, unfortunately, when I lost my job in 2010 through no fault of my own, I was trying to pay my very expensive mortgages on my home. I had like over a $5,000 amount of money I had to set aside for my home. That included property taxes and a first and second mortgage payment and insurance and so forth. Anyway, it's a lot of money to come up with when you suddenly lose your job. I had money put aside for a rainy day, but it wasn't going to last forever. And I did not ever think about using an attorney because I never did. I never in my life ever thought I'd have to use an attorney or get an attorney. And I had a bad feeling about attorneys because unfortunate, I had a bad experience once with the attorney who milked me over $1 million. I mean, I'm trying to tell you, I really had blinders to the attorneys, to police, and now to CPS. Now, early on in my life, I was trained in police responsibility because I was an ocean lifeguard and I had to go through training and police members how to make arrest and how to protect and proudly serve the public. And it's sad because being an ocean lifeguard, you deal with the public, you deal with the drunks, you deal with the bad people at the beach. And every once in a while, I run across one. So I know the responsibilities of being a policeman and what you're supposed to do and not supposed to do. Problem is, a lot of the policemen are not paid enough. And a lot of them have personal problems they bring it into the workforce. So I think you may have had a lot of issues that came against you. You have funding problem to hire an attorney, to retain an attorney. But as I say, would you do open heart surgery yourself? You can't. It's one area that you need. And it took me a long time. And I'm telling you, it took me a year when my case was from my children were taken to I hired Mr. Davis. And yes, I had to quick sell my home. I made the choice. I'd worked 45 years to get my home, and I had to quick sell it for half of what I paid for. I took a big loss, but I was hired an attorney, and he got my children back except one of them. And that was not his fault. He's a very aggressive attorney, and he was cross-examining the social worker because we were talking about where my wife's sister and husband wanted to adopt her daughter. She was only 12 at the time, and they really wanted a child. They couldn't have children themselves, and they wanted to take the child from us. So we did not want that to happen. We were her biological parents. We loved our child. We loved all our children, all 6 children. 3 of them were older, had kids of their own and families of their own. 3 were younger. And at the time of my case, one was 9, 12, and 15. Now they're 19, 22, and 25. But what had happened is that we caught the social worker in a lie. She committed perjury while testifying that my wife's sister and husband were great parents. They had no domestic violence. But Mr. Davis, my attorney, did his homework. And he found report after report of domestic violence, physical domestic violence. And he started reading it in the courtroom. And that social worker was so embarrassed. She ran out of the courtroom. And she told us parents, you'll never see your daughter. She took revenge. And what she did, she told her daughter, who was 12 years old at the time, that you're going to emancipate from your parents. You're going to change your name, seal your birth certificate, get a new birth certificate, a new social security card, and get adopted by a foster care family. She did all those things. She was 12 years old. She didn't know it. The bad thing about CPS, they don't communicate with the children what the parents are doing, and they don't communicate with the parents what the children are doing. There's no communication. CPS does do alienation. They do trafficking. They do child trafficking and medical trafficking. And they get away with it. They're the only entity in the world. It's against the law worldwide to do trafficking of children and adults. Adults are trafficking just as well as children. They're kidnapped, shipped off in shipping containers, and wake up in a strange part of the world to do slave labor, to do the sex trade, to do anything. Their passports are taken or they didn't have a passport. See, when you lose your passport, you are prisoned to wherever country you were taken to. It is very hard. You can get copies of your passport, but a lot of countries, the government, you think the government's bad here in the United States, and I've traveled to over 50 countries, and I've lived in many parts of the world. I have a well-versed. It's very hard when you're away from home to get the things you're used to, just like a grocery store or to buy things. Food isn't available on the shelves in other countries. You'd be surprised how fortunate. I'm blessed every time I return home that I live in the United States. Yes, it's a terrible mess right now, and we have a president that is really stirring a lot of mucky muck. And I think the change is warranted. We have a government that is so foul. We have the child protection system that's ripping us parents off, and they're going to investigate them. They're investigating the IRS, and they're investigating social services. And social services, the child protection system is a part of social services. And social services isn't doing your job. They're also talking to the school districts and violating them. Okay, I do not know what the Hartford School District says. I didn't have to get an academic approval. The law states I just send in my notice of intent to do homeschooling. They don't look at it before. Okay, I stand corrected. I'm glad you shared that with me, K. Diamond Rock. But I do know that sometimes going overboard maybe would help a little bit. But maybe that school district's bad. But you're not going to fight them yourself. You say we don't have funds. Well, I found funds. I sold my home and I regret that I did. But I do have my 2 boys back. I did lose my daughter. Maybe I would have lost my boys. And they're at home and live with me, and I rescued them. There was no negligence or abuse in my family. What they seemed to construct was a stupid thing about my parents, who for 55 years been married. My dad had died, my mom was dying, and I had taken their belongings and I was disseminating the belongings to family and friends and relatives. The problem being is I used my home as a sort through the belongings. So I had the living room cluttered with my parents' belongings. And they say I was negligent. Me and my wife were negligent because somehow the boxes, the furnitures would tack the kids upstairs in their private bedrooms. They each had a bedroom. They had their own bathroom. The house was huge. It was modern. It was new. The yard was huge. They went to one of the best public schools and private schools in the country. They're heavily involved in scouting, both the boys and the girls scouting programs. They're involved in AYSO soccer. They're involved in school activities, plays, and recitals. We were heavily involved as parents in schools. Every open house, every back to school, every parent-teacher conference, we were there for the carnivals. We picked up our kids and took them to school. We were that much in tune with our kids. They traveled with us. Our date was with our kids, and we used to go to Disneyland all the time. That was our main date because you could go to Disneyland as a family and enjoy it all. But CPS interfered. They mucky muck. And if I sound angry, I am, because it's wrong. And they're doing the same thing to you. CPS should not be involved in your homeschooling. And again, you don't know this till you get an attorney. I did not know half the things I know now. But listening to my attorney, watching him work, understanding him explaining things have taught me a lot. Again, I tell you, I'm not an attorney, but I know a lot of the things that Mr. Davis, my attorney, does. And he will get your kids back. He is a fighter, and that's the kind of attorney you got to get. That's the kind of attorney you got to get. Now, I appreciate Kay Diamond Rock from Hartford, Maryland, who has shared the horrendous story of the school district getting involved with CPS and the police trying to enforce. You're going to have to do your homework. If you don't want to get an attorney, you're going to have to look up the statutes of why the school district contacted CPS. You got to do a lot of homework. If you can't get an attorney, you got to do it pro se. You got to fight them. And to be a pro se attorney, you're going to be eaten alive because you don't have the money. You say you don't have the money for the attorney, you don't have the money to fight their attorneys because school districts are fat. School districts are fat. And I agree that there maybe are poor school districts. I'm not saying all of them are, but a lot of them are really fat. And CPS is most fat is there. It's $1 trillion business, how corrupt CPS is. They make trillions of dollars a year off us, and not from money from us, from having us involved in CPS, because they get all the funds. So much federal funds is wasted and sent to the states, who in turn sends it to the county. And they're not accountable for it. They're not transparent for it. They're trying to investigate wasteful government spending. And I hope Elon Musk and President Trump investigate CPS because they are corrupt. They are getting way too much money. There's the good and the bad. There's the good and the bad. And you're caught up in it. Now, Hartford must be a very expensive area and have a very expensive school district. And they're bullying to kids, which is number one problem in elementary school is bullying. And teachers are underpaid, and there's a lot of good teachers. There's a lot of bad teachers. But teachers do go to college. They get a college degree, they take a exam, and they get a credential. So they go through a lot of work to be a teacher. But do child protection, social service do? No. They should all have a degree in social work. All of them should have a degree, a major in college degree. They should also have a minor in clinical psychiatry. Because it's very important they know that psychiatry people, they want to do that all the time anyway. So they have a major in social worker and they have a minor in clinical psychology. Then after that, they need to get a license. They need to pass exam, like the bar exam that lawyers do or the doctor exam or anything like that. They need to have a license. And that license should be only good for a set number of years and then renewable because a lot of new developments take place. So it's not a license for life. Then they should go through what's called an internship program, a mentor in the agency they work for. They should have a length of time to get them acquainted about how to work with families. A lot of these social workers don't even have families themselves, so they're making life and death situations. Mine was very young, in her early 20s. She had no college degree. She didn't have a high school degree. She had no experience working with families. And here she was, ruining our family, destroying our family. Cost me over hundreds and hundreds of thousands. I lost my home. I lost my credit. I can't even get a job because of my involvement in CPS. It has been really totally bad. It's been bad. And I'm sorry that a lot of you are listening or hearing this. But, it's hard to make changes. And so what I try to do twice a day is I try to share these things. I also try to help you all with rules that I've come up with, rules that will help you, maneuver around CPS. And one of them right now is to get a attorney, and that is the hardest thing that everybody has. Yes, they may have a retainer of 20,000 or 30 or 50, but you're going to have to come up with it. And a lot of attorneys will make arrangements. It's very important that you approach getting an attorney like you do getting a heart surgeon doctor to do performance on your heart. You need to talk to at least 3 attorneys. And the first step is you need to identify the kind of attorney you need to find. And that is an attorney who is licensed and is trained in the areas of juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. A criminal attorney is not going to help you. A divorce attorney is not going to help you. A real estate attorney is not going to help you. You need an attorney who's fought CPS. You don't need a beginning attorney in CPS. You need somebody who's experienced, somebody who's a fighter. And one of the first attorneys you can talk to is Mr. Davis. And you have ways to talk to him for free or for a small amount of money. Being a guest on my podcast or calling in, you get a free 15-minute consultation with Mr. Davis, a Zoom private meeting one-on-one with him. Or if you have $60 and you want to talk longer, for 30 minutes, he'll talk to you for $60. 30 minutes for $60. All you do is visit that website, put your credit card payment, arrange the time, and you have 30 minutes with them. Or you can call in to the number 888-888-6582 and ask them how much it would be to talk an hour if you think it's going to be a retainer. Or maybe talk to them how much is to talk to them. But you need to talk to 3 attorneys. He's one of them. And one of the first things you need to ask when you talk to the other 2 attorneys, are you trained and licensed as a juvenile law, family law, dependency attorney who's fought CPS and brought children home? If the answer is yes, you go to the second question. And the second question is have you ever, after the case is closed, fought CPS with a civil lawsuit, either in state court or federal court, and won money? If the answer is yes, then you've now got yourself your second and third attorney. Vincent already meets those requirements. Remember, he has 39 years of fighting. So you have three attorneys that now you can talk to. And from there, you need to call them and talk to them because you need to find out the chemistry between you and that attorney, whether you guys can work together. The other thing is you need to find out the retainer, and you need to see references. Don't forget important things called references. Ask for 3 references that you can call up and check on their background. That is so important to do that. And that doesn't take money to do all that. Yes, there might be some small amount of money for the talking, but it's not going to be anything out there extraordinary. So once you've talked to the 3 attorneys, then make up your mind which one you want to hire. Which one you want to hire. And use them. Your life will be so much better. The court-appointed attorney are going to lay down flat on their face, do nothing for you. It's a waste of time. I want to welcome Don't Complain. Yes, I do know of someone who's sued. Vincent Davis has won millions of dollars, both in state court and federal court. All you have to do is look up Vince W. Davis's CPS lawsuits, and you'll see them come out of the woodwork. And he is good at what he does. He has won millions of dollars against CPS. So the answer to the Don't Complain, and I like to know your name and your city and a state, or if you're from a country, your country, and if you have a CPS case. I think you've been on before, Don't Complain, and I can't remember your name or the city and state, but welcome. I know you have a message, and that's kind of interesting. Don't Complain campaign. I don't know what that's about, but it has a silent message that I guess you don't complain about life. And here I am spending the whole hour of my live stream complaining about CPS. And I'm sorry to sound so critical of CPS. I'm angry about them because they're the rogue ones. They're the bad ones. Okay, you're fighting to get CPS to remove a child from the home. Okay, so you're on the other side of the fence. You're someone, I don't know if you're layperson or professional, and you see a child in danger, and you want to get them removed from the home. Well, are they in danger? Are they neglected? Are they not fed, clothed, or sheltered? Do they not go to school? Do they not, are they being physically abused, yelled at, verbal mistreatment? What are the things that you're making a complaint against this person to get them removed from home? It's real simple to have a child removed from home because there's enough bad CPS out there, they'll do it. I mean, I don't know what area you're at, Don't Complain, but you can call up the phone number, the hotlines for CPS. But you got to be carefully sure, because if you lie and make a complaint and it's not valid, you can be sued. You can be sued. People that make false complaints can be sued. Now, if you're going to have a child removed, they got to be in danger from the home. That means there's something physically going on, neglecting or something. They're being starved or punished excessively. Okay, the child cut her arm 50 times, and CPS sent her right back home. Well, that's hard to believe that anybody's been cut 50 times. Have you called the police? Because that is an attack on a child. The police will get involved because that's a criminal act. Harming someone with a knife or cutting someone is a criminal act, and the police will be involved. You call up the policeman. You need the document. You need to gather pictures and how you can prove that the child was forced to cut her arm 50 times. I mean, if she's cutting herself, which a lot of children do, that's their suicide tendencies. They want to kill themselves. They want to kill themselves. that child needs help. And yes, I'm here to protect children as well as to show bad CPS people out there. Okay, the cops went to the home. Go on, don't complain. Do you have a first name that I could call you? And if you give me the state, that'd be fine. That's good. That's good. You'll need to take that information to the police station to have a detective investigate it. Physical harm to a child is bad, whether they do it themselves or not. I need to get some water. Excuse me for a second. Now, I have only about 4 minutes before I have to end my podcast. And so don't complain. If you want to give me more information, I'll have to have it soon because I'm going to have to go. I want to help you. I want to help protect that child. When a child cuts themselves, that's a part of suicide. We need to get involved with that. And I definitely sad to hear about that. So now we're getting short on time, so I'm going to have to close the podcast. I'm going to take down my phone number only because I can't take any calls at the moment because I'll be soon ending my live stream here. Now, I want to talk to all of you that have come into my room today and the ones that have sent me emojis. Thank you very much. Donna Laundry, for your thumbs up. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I want to thank Kay Diamond from Hartford, Maryland. Thank you so much to talk to me on how the school is a problem. I'm hoping I can give you some ideas. But you need to have an attorney to protect yourself. Just think of it as open heart surgery. You're not going to do it yourself. You're not going to do it yourself. And don't complain. That is serious. And it's very important that you call the police and you say you know of a child harming themselves. And I cannot believe that wherever you're calling from, that CPS entity, that system, is not protecting that child. Because all the CPS agencies do follow up with an investigation. They have to by law. They have to by law. I mean, in that child, I don't know how old the child is, but you need to get involved. The police. It's a criminal matter when a child cuts themselves, 50 times is a lot of times. So I want to thank all of you that make this live stream possible by being here. Thank you for the stars. Thank you for your comments and texts. I want you do not give up fighting for your children back into your home. Be careful of rogue CPSs out there. There are a lot of them. And please get yourself an attorney to fight back. Now, I'll be on again tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to share me your stories. And God bless you all. And I feel for you. I care for you. And I'll be here as I've been here twice a day, 7 days a week. I'm your family. I will try to help you any way possible form I can. So it's now time for me to say goodbye until tonight. So God bless you all. And this is Bob Pace signing off.